Baruch Fleischman here, and as you see before us on the video, we're going to go back into the ultimate connection with God. It's a very short shir today. Now, this guide that Rabbi Mimran is teaching us is really a series of practical steps that we could use psychologically to protect ourselves and to grow. What happens in the world is we live in an emotional world. And we live in a dangerous world because none of us is going to live forever and the world is full of danger. So we need a mechanism to constantly be looking at the dangers and see what's going on. Now, what Rabbi Mimran is saying is that mechanism, which he's going to speak about it more, is really just a mechanism. But because of the emotions that are involved and because of the different kinds of dynamics of the world in which we live, begin to start thinking that the thoughts that are connected with our defensive mechanisms are us. Plots and plans and defenses and this and that. So if you look in the Zohar, and we've seen the Zohar all the time, and we understand that the main function of the klipos is to accuse us. So it's constantly telling us that we're no good. One way or another, there are different levels of noise in your brain, but sometimes it's very, very loud. And that's what Rabbi Mimran refers to as monkey talk. Learn how to control that, and he's telling us that the secret of it is to look at it, to realize that it's not you, but a part. So let's go over here to the new piece. It's a very short piece. The piece says like this in English. It says it's called Awareness Turns Pain into Joy. Now notice this word awareness. So we've been talking about looking at your thoughts. The Vekas to Hashem is the final and most important goal of all of creation, is to return ourselves to unity with the Creator and the purpose of why man was created. Now, going on, he says we cannot actually fight the emotional ego, which, as we have explained, is powered by the Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara there is a klipa called the klipas noga that is attached to us. It's on the outside of us. It has some really bad qualities to it. And just as we cannot fight darkness, because there is no real substance to it, rather there is a lack of, we would say here, there's a lack of kedusha in it. There's no kedusha in it. So therefore, there's nothing to fight. Trying to fight the emotional ego would only create inner conflict, which would lead to further pain. It's enough just to watch it. Watching the emotional ego implies accepting it. It's there. It's necessary in some ways, but now you're looking at it. So allowing it to be part of what is at that particular moment. So I made a little grammar mistake of what is, period, or comma, at that moment. Because whatever's going on, there is emotional involved in it. There is emotion involved. And there is needs to be able to do defensive many times. But we have to understand that that doesn't necessarily have to take us over. We can watch it. How can the simple act of watching the emotional ego put an end to its destructive influence? So he said, when you begin to separate yourself and your identity from the emotional ego and become the observer, watch the mind, the emotional ego will continue to operate for a while, for it already has a certain momentum. Emotions are energy sources. One thing that the emotions do is they make us feel alive, but alive in the ego sense, alive in the physical sense. Like a spinning wheel that it will keep turning on its own for some time, even when it is no longer being propelled by an outside force. Similarly, Although you are no longer energizing the emotional ego by identifying with it, in other words, it's me, I feel like this, I feel like, what can I do, that's what I feel. It will still try to trick you into identifying with it again. It'll try to pull you back in to that emotional cycle again. But like that spinning wheel that continues to turn, it will eventually stop. Try it. So he says, in this little blurb, he gives us a final blurb. I think this is so cute. Let me see if I can get it focused a little bit better. He says, we cannot actually fight the emotional ego, which is powered by the Yetzer Hara, just as we cannot fight darkness. That's the shir today. This is Baruch Fleischman of the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, learning Rabbi Mimran's ultimate connection with God.